Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Young Israel, I would like to welcome everyone to this really wonderful, very special event. We're proud to be hosting. It's a schus to be hosting this wonderful Torah event, and we're happy to have each and every one of you with us this morning. We want to welcome Mr. Stock. We also want to welcome Mr. Khan, who are here representing the firm who's helping to underwrite this afternoon's event. We'd like to thank very much Rabbi Parson, Rabbi Blezer for organizing this wonderful opportunity for the entire South Florida Jewish community. A special welcome to Rabbi Ariel Shoshan, who is going to be speaking with us in just a moment, and Rabbi Yaakov Blezer, who's going to be on the way and who we'll be hearing from shortly as well. The T4 Business Halacha Initiative is a joint program of the North Miami Beach Kollel and the law offices of Stock Khan and Braverman. And this important initiative was launched to educate people in the area of business halacha, and to provide also the associated necessary services. The North Miami Beach Kollel hosts a chabura of Rabbanim training in Shoshan Mishpat, as well as training lawyers in business halacha. This is aside from their classes and their seminars throughout the year. To find out more about such classes, please speak to Rabbi Blezer, Rabbi Parsons, or any of the Rabbanim from the North Miami Beach Kollel. We hope you enjoy and gain from today's program. And without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce Rabbi Ariel Shoshan, who will be speaking on Yaakov's ladder and the business world.
Birshus Harav, the Rosh Kollel, everybody who's here, our hosts, thank you so much. It's a special honor for me to be here, that's for sure. I'm in town for a wedding associated with members of my shul in Arizona, and the whole experience reminds me of when I went to Washington, D.C. many, many years ago. There was a sportscaster who had become a congressman. You know, crazier things have happened since then, you know, even in the White House. But there was a sportscaster who became a congressman, and his name was J.D. Hayworth, and we went to visit him. And we asked him which weather did he like more. Does he like the weather in Washington, D.C., which is very similar to Florida, or do you like the weather in Phoenix, where he was now our representative? And he said that I always like to say that I prefer to bake than to boil. And that's the way I feel right now. I'm happy to be here, to be able to go home and to tell everybody, you know, just how dry the heat is as we suffer through 119 this coming Shabbos in Yirtzeh Hashem. But thank you again for having me. It's really a great covet and a pleasure to be here. I hope that what I'll share with you will be sort of inspiring and will rely upon Rabbi Blezer for more of the meat and potatoes of the halachas that you came to learn together. Many of us, if not all, are well aware of the dream that Yaakov Avinu, our forefather Jacob, had when he was running away and running for his life, running away from his brother Esav. And when he was running at the outset of Parshas Vayetze, it says that he fell asleep there, and he had a dream. And of course, many of us, as I said, are familiar with the dream. The dream is essentially that when he's sleeping, he sees a ladder. And on the ladder, which is ensconced on the ground but reaches the heavens, he sees angels going up and down. And this, by the way, is the source of a deep spiritual idea that is expressed by many. I saw it in the writings of Chavetz Chaim. I'm not sure that he's the originator of the idea. That Bisman she'enam olim yordim, as long as someone is not rising and going up and becoming greater, then he is getting worse because of the basic nature of our lives. And so really, just by being here, I don't know what else you could be doing, what your opportunity cost is. But I know that we're in a room full of people who are going up. And by being together with people who are going up, we ourselves continue to go up. And I pay tribute to each and every one of you who took off time to be here, and especially to the hosts who have created this, because it really is inspiring to be with people. So back to the dream, the angels are going up and down, and they are from time to time at the bottom, and from time to time they're all the way at the top. Rosho Magia Hashamayim gets to the heavens. And when Yaakov Avinu wakes up, he says the words, Achen yesh Hashem b'makom hazeh ve'anochi lo yadati. After all, or some kind of remark like, now I know. He says, now I know that there is Hashem, there's God here, and I hadn't known. I know that Hashem is here, and I hadn't known. That's very difficult to understand. How is it possible that somebody on the great level of Yaakov Avinu didn't know that God is everywhere? We all know that Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is truly everywhere. He didn't need the song in order to tell him this. Everybody, you know the song. I can see it in your smile. Right? So we all know that the Almighty is everywhere. And how could it be that Yaakov says, I didn't know God was here? What did he learn by seeing the dream? This question is posed by the great Shlomo Rabbi, the Nesiv Shalom, who this summer marks 25 years since his passing. So he's really sort of contemporary, and that's not some name from a long time ago. Where the Rebbe says, what is he teaching us? And I believe that the answer to this question is highly applicable to the lives of every person here. I don't just believe that, I know it for sure. Because the Rebbe says that the answer is based on a medrash. Medrash is a collection of writings, part of the oral transmission of the Jewish people. And in the medrash it says that when Yaakov Avinu arrived at this place, the entire world stood up against him like a wall. For those of you who understand Hebrew well, the verb used in the Chumash for when he arrived at this place is vayifga b'makom. Vayifga b'makom doesn't make sense. That's not a normal word for arriving someplace. The normal word for arriving someplace is lavo in biblical Hebrew, or lahagia in a more modern sense, but or both. But lifgoa means to come in abrupt contact with something. So much so that even an explosion, we should never know from it, and an aggressive explosion could be called a pigia. There is an abrupt nature to this. And from this, the sages derive some basic things, that he fell asleep there rather than he went to sleep there. But the Medrash says, vayifga b'makom, he smashed into the place. Because all of Olam Hazeh, all of this world, stood up against him like a wall. What does that mean? Well, let's think about Yaakov Avinu. Here he is at the age of 77. I think that would make him, if not the oldest man in this room, then very awfully close. Here he is at the age of 77. And what has he done with his life until now? He has been learning Torah in the most pristine environments imaginable. His great teacher is his father, Yitzchak Avinu, forefather Isaac. And he spent his whole life, so that's described in his early life as Yoshev Ohalim. He's involved in learning. He's involved in the tent of learning. Right now, as he comes at the age of 77 to this place, the place at which is the junction of heaven and earth, where the Beis HaMikdash will be built in Jerusalem. When he's in this place, at 77 years old, he has just spent the last 14 years fully engrossed in his own spiritual development in the yeshiva of Shem Va'ever. Day and night, learning. He's living what one could imagine to be a perfect life. The life of somebody who has no distractions, can use all of his efforts to seek the Almighty and to be involved in spirituality. And that's what he's been doing. And now he comes to this place. Now his mother sent him away a long time ago to find a wife. Did he know that he wouldn't just find one wife, and not just two and not just three, but four? Did he know that he would go and have children? Certainly he did. We know that that Chazal tell us that they knew the numbers. But was he fully aware at that moment that he would have 13 children in the next short while? Now, my friends, if that's not enough already, 4 wives and 13 children, I don't know what could be more scary than that, than those numbers. Perhaps it's this, that he would later describe his life as he worked for a terrible employer morning and night, all day and all night. So what does he have to look forward to? Here he is, he's leaving the yeshiva, he's leaving the kollel, he's learning day and night, 14 years uninterrupted, a life of uninterrupted spirituality, 77 years of greatness. And he is now going to work. But it's a very, very dire situation. 4 wives, 13 children, and 2 jobs. Of course he needs 2 jobs, he's having 4 wives and 13 children. It's a dire situation. Vayifga b'makom, he came to this place and the whole world stood up against him like a wall. And he wondered, what's going to be with me? What's going to happen to me? And then the dream comes to answer his question. In the dream he sees that very ladder upon which the angels reach the heavens, Rosho Magia Hashamayma, it reaches all the way to the heavens. That ladder itself is mutzav arza. It's down on the ground. It's down on the ground. And he sees that when you are climbing to great spirituality, it's a farce. It's a myth that the way that that happens is only through spiritual endeavors. In fact, other nations perhaps view the world as separated between the physical and the spiritual, between the everyday and the lofty. Not so. Very, very deep idea, not to be fully explored right now. My Rabbi, the Rosh Hashiva of Yaakov Weinberg, is a Tzaddik Livracha. He once said that that's why a Jew has to believe in the 13th of the Rambam's 13 principles, that there will be resurrection. Because the Jew believes in the body and soul being together, not in the body and soul being apart. That means that the terminal existence of the person is not that he will go to some spiritual place no longer overwhelmed by his physical desires. No. He will fuse his physicality and his spirituality. And this is something that comes up all the time. Wherever we find the word kedusha, wherever we find that engaged in some physical activity, the Torah refers to being self-sanctified upon that which we eat, not by not eating. In fact, there's only one day from the Torah you're not allowed to eat, and there are many, many days that you're obligated to eat. And we find that in every time that we engage in something higher spirituality, like a holiday, we eat more. And not just eating, but the Torah commands that a person should do everything he can to be married and have children. Not as the nations think, that somebody who has to live an ascetic lifestyle and removes himself from the family life. Quite the opposite. Kedusha is found in the engagement of the physical and the spiritual together. The Mesilas Yesharim, the Path of the Just, in the 16th chapter says this, when describing why it is that purity, which is a very, very lofty level, when one ascends beyond purity, one ascends to sanctity, tahara to kedusha. And he describes how tahara is the removal of all temptation and all involvement in physical things and being a really clear life about what I'm seeking. But kedusha is the re-engagement in the physical that lifts things up to a higher place, like this lunch. Who ever realized what potential a mozzarella stick had? Can you imagine that a mozzarella stick, it's kind of complicated what's the proper bracha, but you could say the right bracha on it. And you could eat it so that you come to learn and grow. You could eat it so that you have the strength to serve Hashem. You could eat it so that you go back to your business place more equipped with how the Jew does business, more equipped with how to live a life of proper spirituality. It could have just been a mozzarella stick. But it's something so much greater. The Mesilas Yesharim says that eating comes in two forms. There's some eating that's just eating. But sometimes a Kohen eats from a korban, from an offering that was offered so that someone would achieve atonement. And his eating delivers the atonement. If we were to divide the world by gashmias and ruchnias, spirituality, physicality, we would certainly put eating on the other side of the line. But not the eating of a Kohen for the purpose of a Jew achieving atonement. And that's the possibility of all eating. Your breakfast tomorrow morning could be so that I have the strength to be an Eved Hashem, to serve God. Your business, the way you do business, and the deals that you make, and the seeking of money, and the acquiring of money, could all be for the purpose of proper and great things and lofty things, educating our family, sanctifying Hashem's name, building on behalf of my community. Everything can be lifted from the mundane to the spiritual. And that is the lesson that Yaakov Avinu saw when he saw that the angels that reach the heavens also come all the way down to the ground, as long as it's in the frame, which is the proper frame of the ladder that reaches Hashem. And that's when he woke up and he said about his own life, I may be leaving the Beis Medrash after all these years, and I may be going out to be married and have children and have two jobs. Achen yesh Hashem b'makom hazeh ve'anochi lo yadati. Now I know that there is God in this place, and I hadn't known. I had been afraid. Now there's no doubt that those who sacrifice to learn Torah day and night and go without many of the great creature comforts deserve our great honor. Nobody asked me to say a single word about fundraising, but I'm going to do it anyway. The support of every institution in your community, the support of the kollel itself that brought you here together, is a way to transform a business deal into the heavens. It was before that just a business deal. It was just dough. Now it's something special. That's the possibility of everything. And even without tzedakah like that, just living a life of serving Hashem and sanctifying Hashem's name in the way you do business, if anyone takes from this experience today, that you go someplace out there in the world and somebody else walks away from that experience and says, it is worthwhile to be with that man because he studies the Torah, then we will have done our part. Then we will be part of the cosmic impact that Klal Yisrael is supposed to be with Hashem. So as you leave and you go do whatever you think, know that in your boardroom and in your kitchen and in your bedroom and everywhere that you go, there is Hashem in that place. The ladder of Yaakov Avinu says that the sanctuary and the study hall are great places. But your place of business, where you do your work, there is God in that place. And the ladder declares that whatever you do down here in the everyday can reach the heavens. May God bless every person who's here to always, always, always reach the heavens. Do the things necessary to sanctify His name, and with it you should be blessed with overwhelming success, never-ending nachas from your families, and never-ending nachas from all of your efforts. Thank you so much.